first day I showed up at work, my dad died. He died at 4:30 in the morning, and was there for that, and then I went to work at 7 o'clock, and I had first guy I saw when I pulled in the parking lot, I told him my dad died, and he just backed out and quit. Yeah, he said, sorry about that, and then he just backed out and left.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Boardroom Buzz here with the Blue Collar Twins, Jeremy and Jason Julio. Today, we are joined by Byron Barnes, owner of Barnes Exterminating in Tennessee. Byron's story is one of resilience and leadership. After the passing of his father, Scott Barnes, who founded the company in 1986, Byron took over the family business at just 22 years old. Since then, he's helped transform Barnes Exterminating into a growing, modern operation through technology, systems, and strategic acquisitions. We're excited to talk about his journey, the lessons he's learned along the way, and what he sees happening in the pest control industry today. Byron, welcome to the Boardroom Buzz.
Thanks for having me.
Dude, I'm super excited you're here to share your story, diving into your background before we got you on here. Sounds like a super amazing story that you got. Yeah, I came across that you took over a business at the age of 22, unfortunately, because your father passed. Let's get started. What did it look like for you before you entered the pest control world?
Well, like any kid, I graduated high school. Went to school here locally, Daniel Boone High School here in Gray, Tennessee, and graduated top of my class there. I think I was 6th out of 310, and was actually accepted to go to the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, and decided to stay here and go to school locally at ETSU, East Tennessee State University, where I ended up graduating with a degree in business management and a minor in marketing. But I worked a couple other jobs in college before I went into pest control, and I got a job with my dad when I was 19.
19 years old, you jumped into the pest control world, and that is amazing. So you were thinking about going into the Naval Academy.
Yeah, I was thinking about going in the military. Been in ROTC, Marine Corps ROTC, all through high school, and I did pretty well in that. And so I kind of had aspirations of going into the military, but, those plans changed.
That's pretty cool. 19 years old. When you were 19, was it the first time you were involved in pest control? Because your family business was established in 1986, is that correct?
Yeah, 1986. I was born in 1991, so the company was 5 years old by the time I was born. But that was the first experience I'd ever had in pest control was when I got hired when I was 19, started working for there. But I did different things in the company when I started there. I didn't just go out and start doing pest control. I actually worked in the office for the first 6 months that I was there.
What was it like for you growing up with your dad being a blue collar worker in pest control? Was it something that you're like, oh, this is something I may be interested in one day, or was it like, I never want to do this?
Well, it wasn't something that really crossed my mind. My dad, he never really came home and talked about work much. He really kind of kept work separate from family life a lot. And, I never really went, very few memories I have of being in the office or around anything, when I was a kid. So it was very separated.
Did you appreciate that? Is that how you are with your family now, or is it different?
Yeah, I would say pretty much. Now, of course, I'm on the phone a lot, and I remember, growing up, my dad was on the phone a lot, I guess, doing business, but as far as talking about the business or any burdens or anything to do with it, he didn't really bring any of that home, so, I try not to, disrupt my family life by business problems.
Time's different now also, us now, it's a little bit different than back then. We're attached to our phones, and it's hard to
all the way my dad died in 2014, he never had a smartphone even until he died. He had a flip phone. It's very archaic. He could barely send an email.
Do you know anyone now that has a flip phone? My buddy JP Swoop has a flip phone, and he refuses to get a regular smartphone. Is that right?
Yeah. Some things about me personally is I have hobbies where I enjoy collecting vintage things, antique things. So, I've got a whole room in my house dedicated to the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. So, from a standpoint of technology, I like, not having some of these things, but it's just impossible, of course, in today's world to do business without it. But if I was retired or I didn't have the business or something, I think I would withdraw a lot from technology.
What do you collect from the 70s, 80s, and the 90s?
Oh, my gosh. If I could take you guys downstairs and show you, my house is like a museum. Just everything from VCRs, tube TVs, vintage toys and electronics and computers and, just all kinds of variety of things.
Now, is it
like clutter, or is it like organized that
No,
actually
it's
looks like
organized. Yeah, it's like a museum. So downstairs I got the 70s, 80s, 90s room, and then I've got a whole arcade downstairs with pinball machines and crane machines and different arcade machines I grew up playing. Area 51 and cruising, the world and all kinds of games, and that's one of my side things as a hobby. Is I collect a lot
That's
of
a
things.
cool hobby. So you must probably have fun like going into old antique shops and like looking hunting for that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. This past weekend I was at an auction. I took my daughter to an auction to buy a few things that I saw, and we try to get out on the weekends and go to flea markets or auctions or different.
What's your
different
most
things.
prized possession out of all your stuff, like
Oh
your
gosh, I don't
collections? If you had
I
to
don't
get
know.
rid of everything and keep one thing, what would it be?
Out of all the stuff that I own,
Your
Probably-
collection.
one of my cars, I guess.
Or what is that?
I don't know. I've got a few, but probably one of my most special cars is one that I always wanted since I was a kid, and it's 1981 DeLorean.
Oh, is that the one from the Back to the Future?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's sick. The doors come up. Suicide doors.
Yeah, gold wing doors, yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
These aren't just little items. You're collecting cars also.
Yeah, I guess. I've got everything I got the DeLorean, I've got a 77 Trans Am, a real bandit car, Smokey and the Bandit car. I've got cool cars like that, and I've got weird stuff like a 79 AMC Pacer that I thought was quirky and cool. I don't know, I just have different things that I like.
That's pretty cool. You have to have hobbies. So let's
Yeah.
dive back in. So when your father passed away and you suddenly found yourself leading the company at just 22 years old, what was the biggest challenge that no one could possibly prepare you for?
Well, probably, when my dad passed away, he didn't have anything set up really. He didn't have a will, didn't have any life insurance or anything. So the business actually went to me, my mother, and my sister when we started in 2014. And then we operated like a partnership for about a year, and then I ended up buying them out.
They just
That's
didn't
kinda
want
what it
anything to
looked
do with it?
Well, we were in a lot of debt. So, the company was actually in an estate probate, and it was classified as insolvent. So, the best thing that her advice or the attorney's advice to my mother was to, sell it.
And you decided that, like, what looked promising about it? Was it the fact that it was your dad's and you didn't want to let it go?
Well, it was his, and he had got me licensed in pest control 4 months before he died. So, and he had told me we'd had discussions and stuff, and he said, this was our livelihood and not to ever give it up. So, it's something that was very important to him and very important to me, and even, financial mistakes and things that had happened around, the crash of '08 and stuff, that he had made some bad investments. But, the company wasn't in a good place financially was the reason for them wanting to get out of it. So I took out a 10-year note with them to purchase it in 2016. So actually my last payment on that note's coming up in a few months.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
22 years old, you take over a business that wasn't quite doing well, right? What were some of the things that you had to do in order to kind of change that and
Well, also,
change the
I
trend?
had to shed a lot of this debt. So, a lot of it wasn't personal stuff of mine, of course. So, credit cards and different things with distributors and some different things. And I, ended up making some deals with some friends in the industry to get some of this debt off of me and go forward. If they, like with one of the chemical guys, I think we owed quite a bit of money to. And I said, hey, that was his doing and everything. And I know you want the money, but listen, if you, work with me here, I'll buy everything I can from you from here on out. And that was, 10, 12 years ago, and still have. And so he's made his money back, 10, 20 times over, I'm sure.
Now, it wasn't your fault, and I'm sure your father obviously didn't expect for what happened to happen to him, but how do you prevent something like this from happening to your family one day?
I don't have debt. I don't own a credit card.
Okay.
I don't own one. I don't charge anything. If I can't afford to buy it, I don't need it.
That's a great mindset because
Because I did see, things that my parents had did and things that they had made decisions and that weren't very good. And I don't ever want to put myself or my family in that situation. So as far as money, I don't borrow it.
Yeah, that's something that's Jeremy and I, we feel the same way. If you don't have it, then we're not.
And I know
we're
there's
not
a lot
buying
of people that take credit cards and they use them for points and different rewards and things you can do with that. And that's fine. If that works for other people, that's great. I just don't like the, knowing that I owe somebody something. And, sometimes people get a taste of, the free money or the debt and, it gets out of control. And I don't want to be tempted by any of that. And, I just try to run everything on cash the best I can.
That's interesting too because you're growing through acquisition, right?
Yeah.
And typically, most people are usually leveraging money for that, banks and loans. You're not. What's your strategy there?
Well, I did another podcast on micro acquisitions, which is something I kind of specialize in. And when I do those, I virtually don't pay anything up front. I go after companies that are 3 people or less, because most of the real big companies are too big and not interested in that, and the smaller ones, solo operators, don't have the means or capabilities to do it. So it's usually a good fit for me with people that's going to retire or exit the industry, that they can get something for their business. And I do a structured buyout where we pay them a percentage for a period of time. So in other words, say you had a company doing a year, and I took that over and implemented all that into my base and everything, and say the deal we ended up doing was 50 cents on the dollar for 3 years, that'd be $1.50. So that $300,000 company theoretically should get $450,000 in revenue percentages over the next 3 years, as long as the customers stay. Now, if customers drop off, then they're not getting anything and I'm not getting anything. So it also forms a good partnership that they stay on, or at least in kind of the back pocket with the clients. Then after a 3-year period or whatever, I've done them for 2 years. 3 years is what I normally do. Normally the clients, after 3 years, they're used to who you are and how you're doing business, and they're not likely to go anywhere. So after the 3-year, 2-year period, then, it's all paid off and the customers are ours outright.
Has that been successful for you? Have you had any?
Yeah, we've done that 5 or 6 times.
And they all turned out good?
Yeah, pretty good. But like I said, there's pretty low risk doing it, because, take on customer base of 400 or 500 clients and 200 of them leave, then, I'm not getting anything and they're not getting anything.
Yeah.
So say it's a $300,000 company, and year 2 of you being on it, they're only getting paid on their existing customer base from when they signed up to you. They're not.
Well, no. Now that 3-year deal we got going, as long if their phone, now we don't take over their website or their phone number or anything until that term's over with. So if they're still taking sales leads, or people are still calling them for stuff and they forward those to us, then they get an additional percentage for those leads.
Okay. Now, are you implementing different systems and procedures and policies within those businesses to kind of fix them, or are you buying businesses that are pretty well ran and maintained?
Well, there's nothing really. You're talking about businesses. These last couple I did, anywhere 700 to 900 clients maybe, and pretty much, it takes us a period of time to take those and put them into our systems. I don't run it off their name or anything. We just take them and we put them all into our system. Then about a month before we go live with it, we send out letters, emails, and physical mail letting customers know that what's taking place. And I don't use the word that we acquired somebody. We kind of put it out there as like we partnered up.
That sounds fun. Do you enjoy that part of the business?
Yeah, just spraying houses is boring. So the growth part is what I enjoy. I've done a lot of service work too. I ran a route for years, and I still maintain my own truck. I'll still go out and do some service appointments. I've still got a few clients that only want me to do their service from years ago when I was doing it. So, I still maintain and go out and do a route, but I really, obviously enjoy the business part of it. I just came from our new building. We got our new headquarters building that we're opening in about 2 weeks. So I'm excited about that.
How big are you? You took this company over. It was in debt. You flipped it around. You started acquiring smaller businesses. Where are you at today?
Size-wise?
Yes.
As far as like revenue, this year will be about $5 million.
Oh, that's amazing, man! Congratulations.
And you have multiple. Now I don't know how it's structured, but Byron also has turf division, and they do like some power washing and gutter cleaning and stuff as well, right?
When I tried to do some of that years ago, I don't really mess with the gutter cleaning and stuff anymore. But the turf care is a new service division for us that I started kind of late last year, and this is our first full season with it. So that's been going really well for us. We actually just got a big contract with the local veteran cemetery that we're going to be doing turf care on. It's like that contract, 5-year contract, almost $1 million contract.
Wow. What made you decide to get into this?
Well, to be honest with you, a little bit of a vendetta. So, I had a lawn care company that sprayed my house for years, sprayed my mom's house, and the guy that owned that company actually went to college with my dad. So he went into the lawn spraying business. We went into the pest control house spraying business, and been like that for 40 some years. Of course, my dad's been gone for 10 or 12 years. This other guy's obviously getting older, and one of his sons unfortunately passed away, but his other son, I guess, got in the business. We kind of had I felt like what was a professional agreement over the years is, we refer each other stuff, and I think we were spraying their office down there for not much money. Then I guess, his son decided to get in with another pest control dude in town, which is fine. I mean, that's his decision to do that. So it was my decision to cut off the, aspect of referrals and just open my own turf care business.
Your goal is to take all those customers from him.
Well,
and,
I think we were spraying their office for $25. So that, canceling me over $25 and getting another little pest control guy is going to end up costing them a lot.
Now, did you
But
start
it's also,
that from...
not just that. I mean, it's something that I've enjoyed learning about and, building pretty much another side to this. So I've got, we started this late last year. Now we're up to 2 lawn trucks. So, we're doing pretty good.
So you started this from the ground up. It wasn't like another micro acquisition?
No, I started the turf care from the ground up, and I think we're almost 300 yards now, something like that.
Now, with that, did you hire someone with experience in lawn care to kind of help you along the way, or did you?
No, we did it all internally. So, I took one of my people and pretty much said, hey, I'm going to start this business or this new division. You want to kind of go take the tests and stuff and be my guy that takes this on and starts leading this. And then, of course, I told him as that division grows and we take on more guys and more trucks and stuff, you can really lead these people and really, make something of this division. I think it'd be a good opportunity for you. So that's kind of how we started that.
And it sounds like he's doing well.
I really think it's better to try to promote within when you can. But I mean, I could have went out and hired somebody with 10 years of turf care experience or something, but I think it's better if we sit down and we learn it and how it operates and how we're going to do it, not how somebody else does it.
Are they 2 separate businesses, or are they?
No, that's all under Barnes Exterminating. We had we still do it. We did sanitation service. We did a lot of that during COVID. I had a whole nother service on that. During COVID, I launched a service called SaniSafe, which was a division, a name that I came up with, and we were doing sanitizing, electrostatic sanitizing. And actually, I started that business 4 months before COVID happened. So I started that in December of 2019, and then March of 2020 when we started getting the ball rolling on how that was going to do, because my marketing people thought I was crazy. They're like, nobody's going to buy this. Nobody's going to buy a germ control service, and you guys are going to say you're going to kill germs, because my thought was they were killing bugs. There's this equipment, this electrostatic equipment that you can get down on these levels and treat this stuff. And so I was looking into that and developing all that, and then COVID happened, and it's like freaking crazy.
I think we did I knew it.
Well, yeah, my marketing person ended up calling back. He's like, you know what? I think you were onto something.
Yeah, for sure.
So we, for 2 years, that was just wide open. I had like 3 vans sanitizing at one time, running around doing that stuff. I had a contract with 100 and some gas stations that every time they had a COVID case, like we were on a 24-hour route, that they go out and spray a gas station is like almost $500 a piece. So I mean, we were making so much money it felt like we were stealing.
So do you still have that or no?
Yeah, we still do, but it doesn't do anywhere on the level that it used to. So probably 2022, 2023, things started getting better with COVID, which was great. So I kind of shifted that division into rebranded as called SaniSafe Healthy Living, and we're still doing the sanitizing, but air quality. So we're doing dryer vent cleaning and duct cleaning and stuff.
Now, what about with like medical facilities and daycares and would those type of places benefit from a service like yours?
Well, they could, and they did. I mean, but I guess the issue with this type of service is, unlike bugs, people don't see the problem. They don't think of a problem. So, obviously you see roaches or something running around in a doctor's office or a place, but, they're not thinking on a microscopic level of what's on the surface. So I think it's a top of mind issue. So, yeah, we're still doing some of that, but not anywhere near the volume that we used to. I've got one guy that has a pest control route that kind of does some of it on the side.
So you're at about 5 million, if not a little bit more. At what point in that journey of getting to 5 million did you feel like things were getting difficult or things had to change?
I don't know. I mean, I think things have always just kind of flowed and adapted, as I saw fit, and I made changes in, protocols to different things as we grew. So, I'll try something, and if it works good, it works good, and if it doesn't, then we'll try something else.
Was there ever a moment in the beginning that you might have said, I'm not sure if I can do this?
No, I never said anything like that. I mean, it's either I was
wanted to go to the Naval Academy. He's not saying
he's not quitting. No.
I mean, no, it wasn't, I was going to quit. I mean, there were times I didn't have a lot of money, that, you got things to pay and your bank account's getting thin, but it was always either, we're going to, do it till we can't.
And the macro.
There's never no quit. There's just going to be a physically, we couldn't go forward any further, but, fortunately we've been able to continue.
The macro acquisitions, when did those start?
I did my first little one in 2017 with just a guy here locally, and kind of how I got my feet wet was he was just a guy, and I think he might have even worked for us back in the 90s or something. But he was just a one solo operator. He only had like 50 or 60 customers.
And when you do something like that, you don't even need a broker.
No, I've never used a broker for anything. Now, I mean, I've had our attorneys draw up these agreements. But that first one in 2017, like I said, it was like 50 or 60 clients, and he was moving to Florida. I think he was getting married or something. And, we just kind of got together, and I was like, I mean, because obviously 50 or 60 clients, there's nobody going to, terminate or somebody's not going to come down and just write somebody a check. So I was like, hey, I'll take those clients for you. I mean, do them, and I'll give you some money for, a couple of years or whatever off of them. And then after a period of time, that's kind of how I got started doing that. And, just did a little tiny thing with 50 or 60 clients, and then, all the way to bigger ones. We just did the biggest one that we've done back in January of this year, and that was a 3-truck operation.
What's the conversations look like when you try and like look for these type of companies? You call them, you invite them out to dinner, do you send them a letter?
Well, yeah, we send letters. So what I do is, you could go on the database, the agriculture website, and you could just search each county and see, pull the charters of the companies around, and then click on them and see how many people they got on their charter, so you can see how many employees they had. And normally if they had 3 people or less, we'll send them a letter just saying that, who we are, and we're looking to acquire, a route in their area, and, if they were interested in. And now I always send those letters in November. The reason I send them in November is because it's wintertime, things are slower, it's the holidays. If somebody's thinking about exiting the business or they need some money, that's probably the time of year that it's going to be, because nobody's going to answer my letter during swarm season.
It's actually opposite, right? So people who are bigger businesses, that's who are getting the letters to be acquired. He's looking for the smaller ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
If I can buy, 1 or 2 routes a year, and I'm putting 1 or 2, and then, organically, we usually grow, a little bit organically too. So, if I can add 2 or 3 trucks a year through a little bit of organic growth and a micro acquisition, why wouldn't I? I mean, and if I'm building the company to, I've got a daughter, if she wants something to do with it one day, that's fine. But if she doesn't, then I need an exit strategy. And, I can buy these small $300,000-$400,000 companies, but what's a to them, it's worth, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. But in my hands, if I went and sold the company to private equity or something one day, that $400,000 company is worth over $1 million in my hands.
Sure. Definitely. So
I'm building equity in my company when I would take on these, and I'm just adding, 1,000 customers at a time.
Byron, if your father walked into the room today, what would he be most surprised about? What would he be most surprised about?
Well, I hope he'd be proud of our new building. So I'm really excited to get in our new building. My dad's birthday was May the 11th. He would have turned 70 years old. And I was really trying to get it done by May the 11th and have an open house. But I was delayed on some materials and stuff. So we're putting the finishing touches on it this week and next week. So hoping to move the office over there on June the 20th that weekend. But no, if he was still around, I mean, he'd think it was crazy as big as it's gotten. But, I think he would be happy. It wouldn't have gotten as big, I don't think, because, not that he wasn't a good business person. He was really good with people. He's a lot better with people than I am. He just enjoyed sitting around and talking to people. I'm not much that way. He just didn't put the technology, I think, is what's made us go a lot further. Has been able to communicate
tell us
better,
more about
be
that.
more organized.
Yeah,
but,
tell us more about that.
We always used Pest, which I'm sure you're familiar with, the software. But the one we had was from like 1990 something. It was a hardware-based, system. So in 2015, I put us on this digital, online-based Pest. And, how all of our accounts used to be back then, even when I started in the business, was we had these account cards. So, like, accounts were written on a card. And, like, you would take a stack of your 10 or 12 cards out for the day, and you would do your carbon copy tickets. You'd fill your carbon copy ticket out and write the charges on the card. And then at the end of the day, you turn your carbon copy tickets and the cards back into the secretary, who then puts them in the computer and bills them and does all that. So I remember I was dating a girl at the time, and we sat down at the office for, I don't know, it was a few weeks, like hours every night, putting in these cards into this Pest, the digital system. And so, that was something to overcome. There was just getting everything transferred off paper and actually into some kind of system. And of course, even now, we still try to do more with emailing and auto charging credit cards and stuff, but we still got a lot of older customers and stuff that, paper billed every month, monthly customers, try to do more residential on quarterlies and stuff like that. But still got some of these people that want you to come out and spray their baseboards. Because, we've been around 40 years like we have, used to do a lot of different types of stuff back in the day.
Marketing wise, what are you guys doing marketing that sets you apart a little bit from other people?
Marketing, I feel like we're branded very well. So, we're the guys in the red trucks. I think it's a good branding because everybody's got a white truck or, gray truck or whatever. You can trust the man in the red truck. So, everybody kind of knows us by the red trucks. Now, that was something my dad, our first vehicle in the company was a red truck. And then, he had majority of our vehicles were red, but he didn't really become all red, I guess, until I took it over. But I'd say 80% of them were red. And so just kind of went in the direction with the red. And that's branded very well. And then, we do different types of marketing, whether it's TV, radio, billboards, things like that. I try not to do as much print as we used to. Of course, we do a lot of Google and local service ads and stuff like that.
What works? What tends to give you the best return of investment?
Well, I get a lot of people. I use my daughter in a lot of ads. I don't know if you've seen any of our ads on our website, and I write all my own ads too. So all the ads, if you go look at our videos, I wrote all those. But she draws a lot of people. Got her on billboard and on TV and things, and of course all of our ads through social media and things like that. Usually she's on there somewhere, so she draws a lot of people, I think.
I love that. It really kind of speaks like family-owned business, right? And that's what people like to do. They want to do business with family-owned businesses. I tell people all the time.
Especially in this area here where I'm at, we've been around 40 years, so a lot of people know who we are and have their opinion of us one way or another, I feel like.
Do you notice a lot of businesses in your area being acquired by large strategics?
Pest control wise, I would say in East Tennessee, probably most of the bigger family-owned companies have been all acquired in the last 5 years. As far as family-owned big pest control companies that are old, I'm probably it.
Does that give you an advantage? Is that creating more opportunity for you?
Well, I feel like it because, there's been things where, a rent-a-kill or somebody's come in and bought a big local company, and then I end up, with a lot of new accounts. And when they go in and start changing everything and raising prices and stuff, then people start shopping around. And, I usually start ending up with an influx of some new business.
Is there door-to-door around you?
Yeah. So we never saw door-to-door around here in my neck of the woods until probably 3 or 4 years ago, I would say. Maybe right after when COVID got better, but maybe 2023 door-to-door stuff started really going on. It was funny. I had one knock on my door about 3 weeks ago.
People answer the door with shotguns in your neighborhood, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I'm not. That's the thing, though. I'm not in a neighborhood, so I don't know why one of them knocked on my door unless somebody put them up to it. But literally, I'm off of a main road, so you literally have to stop here.
And you have probably a driveway that's 100 yards long.
It's not that. It's long, but I'm back off the road a little bit, but it's not somewhere. I've never had somebody knock on my door trying to sell something here. This kid knocked on my door, and I went to the door and opened the door. He said, "Hey, I'm the bug guy in the area. I'm taking care of everybody around here." I said, "No, you're not." He said, "What do you mean?" And I didn't have my shirt on or anything, but I had my hat on. I pointed to my hat, and he said, "Oh, you're him?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's me." I said, "Can I see your solicitor's card or your Category 7 certification card?" Which he didn't have. And I was like, "You can't be out here doing this." So, I kind of had a couple of rounds with those guys. And they left the area after that weekend.
Do you have a Ring camera?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to record that. I'm going to send you something when we're done with this.
That guy was leaning on my house, and I don't know. I'm not big. The door-to-door stuff, probably the last month, I start getting tagged on Facebook and stuff of people getting bothered, by these people and wanting to know my opinion on it. Or I've had, sometimes have an older person call or something and say, "Well, this man says he can do stuff that you can't," and just a bunch of, or they'll say that they bought my business or that they can do certain things that I can't, or just that's what really gets to me is just the dishonesty in some of it.
For sure, yeah. So we talked about a little bit about marketing. Now, what's your role day to day in the business now? Is it just growth? You said you run a route every once in a while with some existing customers.
I try to go out and tomorrow I think I got to go to one stop to check something or maybe two, so I'll try to do 1 or 2 little service appointments, and then normally do some desk work. I look at different reports every day to see kind of the baseline on how we're doing. Of course, sales report, and try to look at what new leads we've got and what's been sold and what hadn't and what needs to be followed up on, especially commercial stuff. I pay a lot of attention to the commercial stuff. stuff. And if it's big commercial work, big industrial stuff, or I usually handle the bids and doing all that stuff myself. And then I've been over at my new building quite a bit, because I've designed all that and picked out everything for it. So I'm over there hanging out quite a bit.
What's your favorite part about the business?
My
Working
favorite
on the
part?
business. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, the money's nice, but the money that we make and the good that we do allows us to contribute a lot to the community. So, we do a lot of things at Christmas time and just a lot of things throughout the year, donation wise and helping people. And so I like to help people. So I think that's something that brings me joy, and the business allows me to do that. So I guess that's not directly associated with the business, but it allows me to do things that bring me joy, like helping people in the community and spending times on my own hobbies and things. And, I get a lot of joy out of, I really like, taking new clients, working on big accounts and trying to secure, big things, working on deals, usually those micro acquisitions that takes a few months of talking and hammering out things to get those done. So, I work on those. I'm hoping to open a third office. We got 2 locations, but I'm hoping to open a third one, start working on maybe it towards the winter time this year.
With your new office that you build out, is that going to house your CSRs and your technicians? Is it for both, or do you keep them together?
Yeah. So we built out a 6,000 square foot building. We built out 2,600 square foot of office space on one side and 3,400 square foot of warehouse space on the other side. So the one side of the shop's got I built a fenced in room for chemical storage and all that. And then we do some insulation work, and we actually do some snow removal in the wintertime too. So I actually turn my termite trucks into snowplow trucks in the wintertime because you can't do termite work.
You guys get a lot of snow down in Tennessee?
No, we don't. But when we do, it's something to make money. So we probably plow snow about twice a year, I would say. But I can send two trucks out and put plows on them and make $15,000 a night plowing snow.
That's great.
So it's just kind of a side gig.
What's your sales process? Do you have sales guys, technicians that go out to homes and sell?
No, so how we've always done it has been a little bit unique to the industry is we don't have salespeople. So we have technicians, and they're all in different territories, and if a lead comes in for that area, then it goes to that tech. So, that goes, they get commission on that too. Now, a lot of our general pest control services, we moved to selling those over the phone within the past year. So we're doing a lot more sales over the phone, just if somebody calls in and says, hey, I want to switch services, or hey, I've got ants or spiders, or, just something general. We'll try to sell that stuff and set it up over the phone. But termite work, anything specialized, and roaches, fleas, bed bugs, all that stuff's divided out into what area it's in, and that technician gets it, sells it, and does it. That eliminates a lot of people telling people things that a technician might not be able to do. So if you tell somebody, hey, we're gonna do this, and they're the one doing it, then
right,
do it.
Yeah. I see that in the plumbing industry. You have a sales guy go out, quote the job, and then
But you see that too, or at least you used to see it a lot more. Is you'd have somebody going out to sell the job, and then saying all this stuff, and the technician comes, and it's like they said you could do this and this and this and this and this, but you can't. Because the salesman's going to say anything they can to sell the job, because that's their job, is to sell the job. But we kind of use a more hybrid model to where our technicians do the sales also.
Do you split the commission with your office staff at all, or no?
So the office staff, the few of them that are in charge of the inside sales, they get commission when they sell something over the phone.
Okay, so those would be the CSRs that are answering inbound calls for a sale through one of your lead sources?
Yes, right. And then we also have a program where you can buy pest control directly through our website, and you don't have to talk to anybody.
And all that commission just goes straight to you?
Well, no. So anybody that does a new start, if it's a new start, it's a new initial, then they get commission, even if they didn't have anything to do with the sale.
Residential versus commercial, how's that broken up for you?
I would say probably 70-30, 70% residential, 30% commercial.
Do you like the commercial side of the business?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of my thing.
What do you like about it?
Well, it's just... It's good reoccurring work. It's monthly work. I kind of consider it bread and butter money. When we get to wintertime and residential slows down some, you still got your restaurants and your facilities and places that you're doing. It's kind of guaranteed every month, type work typically. And then I like just being able to ride up the road and being like, oh, I'll spray that place and that place and that place, so you impress the ladies.
How is your work culture?
Well, I think our work culture is good. I try to have fun, so we try to do a team outing every 2 months. I don't do one every month, or I'm going to run out of stuff to do. But we've been axe throwing, we've been bowling, we've been putt, we've been escape room. During the summer, I usually have a company pool party and cookout here at my house. So every 2 months we try to do something. People can bring their kids and husbands and wives and all that. But, I have 2 locations, so, I kind of got to coordinate with my second location because they kind of have to plan and do their own because I'm not there. But we do that. And then, like at our new shop, I had a pool table and ping pong put in over there and dartboard and stuff. So I kind of have a little recreational area set up, too, for people to play things on. I just try to have a good environment. I don't want people to, think it sucks coming to work. Then we have a big Christmas party every year. I've usually, like last year, I get a 5-piece band, and we had one of those casino companies come in and set up, blackjack and roulette and poker and all that stuff. And of course, it's fake money, but at the end of the night, whoever had the most money, they could cash in their winnings for paid days off and, different things.
That's fun.
Yeah, and I'm sure your employees enjoy it and appreciate every second of it.
Yeah, most of them. I don't know. It depends on who you ask. But, no, you'll get people, we do these events and stuff, and you got people that's never been to one of our events, But I still try to do something every couple months. And then, like at our new building, they're going to pour me a patio out back, and I had a line ran for a grill and stuff. So I said maybe every quarter I get steaks and stuff, and we'd grill out after work on a Friday every quarter, and people could bring side dishes and stuff. And we'll just have like a quarterly work meal or something and hang out and shoot pool and stuff. So, I just try to do things like that culture-wise, like in our break room. So we have team meetings once a month, but they're broken down into smaller teams because you can only get so many people at the conference table. I don't think having a meeting with the whole company at one time is good. I like breaking it down into teams. But when we have these meetings, when I go through everybody's reports and look at everybody's numbers and all the KPIs and stuff, we have a wheel in our conference room that's like a wheel of fortune. And so everybody gets to, at the end of the meeting time, spin the wheel, and there's things on there for like cash, lottery tickets, gas fill-ups for their personal vehicle, just stuff like that we try to give out little prizes and stuff.
That's fun. So you only have you have a daughter. How old's your daughter?
She's 8.
She's 8, and Is that your only kid?
Yeah, and I'm not married. I've never been married.
You're not married. Okay.
No.
You're single?
Yeah. Well, kind of.
That's great.
It's complicated.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned earlier that you want to build this business to potentially maybe one day, if your daughter wants this business, for it to be for her. Is that
Well,
accurate?
that's what I like to do, it's because, when she's 18, I'll just be 44. So, I'm 34 now, so, 10 more years. And at that point, I'm not too old, of course. So, if she wants something to do with it, then I like for her to work in it. And if not, then, maybe look at an exit strategy at that point.
So in 10 years, where's the business going to be? What's your goal?
Well, I don't know. My main goal was I always wanted to be on the top 100 list, but that seems to keep getting further every year. But you never know with acquisitions and things that take place. Things get consolidated all the time. But I think last I looked, it was around 8 million or so to get on the bottom part of that list. So
You're not too far away from that.
No, but that's quite a few little acquisitions. But we've been growing pretty. This year we'll probably grow 800,000 or 900,000, which will be a good year. So usually, if I can hit one good micro acquisition and then grow organically, we usually grow. I can usually grow about 800,000 a year. But you're still talking, another. I think we might be able to get there in 3 to 5 years.
Let's go.
When you do your annual budget, are you allotting, what's your marketing spend, and then how much are you allotting for these acquisitions?
Well, the acquisitions, I don't really have a number.
Oh, that's right, because
I don't pay anything.
You don't pay anything. That's incredible.
Now, what I have done on some of these is I'll, of course, if they're just stopping work and they have nothing coming in. Now, of course, I don't buy their receivables or anything, so that's their problem to deal with. But I've given them like $10,000 up front or something to like have some money to live on until they get that first check. But that first check, that 10 grand's coming back off those first few checks. So I'll like loan them some money and then I'll take it back off the first few checks.
Byron, is this something that you started, or did you learn this from someone else?
I started it. Yeah, I just taught myself.
I like it. I think it's
But
great.
I've had a lot of good mentors and a lot of good people that are in the industry that I like to talk with. But the whole micro acquisition thing, I created and started all that.
You know what's really impressive is that you're only 34 years old. That's incredible in itself. Yeah.
How old are you guys?
104.
So I'll be retirement age by the time you're all's age.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. You could be there now if you wanted to be.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I've got plans on opening a third location. I don't think I'll get there just on the 2 locations. I think we're going to need another one, to start, building out some more. And I'm looking to open it in North Carolina, a city about an hour from here. I don't want to go. I don't want any office I open to be further than like where I could get there in a day, have a meeting or something, and drive back. So I don't want to go like maybe 2 hours away.
Well, you know what some of these guys are doing now, Byron? They're getting their pilot's license, and I don't know how far.
I'm not getting on it. I'm not getting on a plane. I had a guy fly in
jump
here.
in his DeLorean now, and
Yeah, I had a guy fly into town a couple of years ago and take me to lunch. Somebody wanting to buy us, and he flew in on his little private plane. And I picked him up at the airport in my Tesla. He said, "I've never been in a Tesla before." I said, "Well, I've never been on a private plane."
How do you like the Tesla?
But
How do you like the Tesla?
pretty good. The lease is up on this one next month, I believe. So I'll either be getting another one or something else, I guess.
3 locations. Where were you? So you're thinking about North Carolina, Tennessee, and Gray, Tennessee, and then also Virginia?
Well, I already operate in Virginia. I don't have a location in Virginia, but we do operate in there. But we got a Tri-Cities location here where I'm at. We got a location down in Knoxville, which is about an hour and a half from here. And the location in North Carolina would be a little over an hour in the other direction. I was going to go further into Virginia and do an office there, but I think North Carolina would be a better fit. But I sent letters last year to a bunch of companies in North Carolina and Virginia. I didn't get any hits off of them back at Christmas, but I'll try to send some more, towards winter this year. And if not, then I'll probably just, start it, by myself. Well, that's what I did in Knoxville is I just rented a little place and hired a girl and put a truck down there with one guy and then started like that.
How big is it down there now?
That office will do, I opened that office 9 years ago. It'll do probably about 1.2 million this year.
Who are some of those mentors that you were mentioning, if you don't mind saying?
I don't know if you know Jared Lejani.
Of course,
Yeah,
he's a
good
man.
Yeah, Jared. Some people in Tennessee you probably don't know, but as far as outside of Tennessee, probably Jared. I
Jared
talk
and
to
his
Jared
wife
a
are
lot.
amazing.
Yeah,
Sky.
and we bounced. That's like when I was doing the sanitation stuff. That was stuff we bounced off each other. Back then they did some of that too. But yeah, I like talking to them a lot.
So you guys connected a while back.
Yeah, we've known each other for probably at least 5 years.
Yeah. And will you be in Pest World in Dallas this year?
Where and when is it?
It's in Dallas, and was it end of
October?
October? Maybe I'll have to see. I've never been to one.
Oh, you got to go. You got to go to at least one. Yeah, you meet.
I go to local, I go to the state conventions.
Yeah.
Every
Well, so-
year they have
so-
one in.
We never went when we were operating either, and I think that we went to like you did, the state ones, the NJPMA, which is great and beneficial. But we've been going after we've sold our business, and we've been fortunate to build awesome relationships with really good guys.
Hey, you guys were partners in business?
Yeah, we're partners.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. You don't hear a lot of good things about partnerships sometimes, but I had a couple of guys leave my company about 3 years ago and start their own.
Yeah,
two guys.
It's unfortunate. That happens sometimes, right?
So the 2 guys that were partners with you?
No. They just worked for me. And they went and started their own company and as partners with each other.
Oh, that sucks.
That was 3
Yeah, that
years
happened
ago.
to us. We had a bunch of old technicians that went off on their own and started their own businesses.
Yeah, which is fine, but I feel like some of these, like those 2 guys, it's 3 years ago. It's still just the 2 of them. I feel like some people they just, and they probably were making more money working for me, but it's like people hire themselves jobs. They're not. I saw something the other day. He said, being an entrepreneur is controlling something that runs. I don't have to be there. A lot of people are just giving themselves jobs and calling themselves entrepreneurs.
For sure. That's not what we want, right? We don't want that. That's not the dream.
And then they
that
can't quit because then they have to admit that the dream failed.
Right.
So then they just end up working, for themselves. And, some people enjoy it, but then people end up getting into this and, really not liking, being in business for themselves. It's not for everybody. A lot of people think it is, but not everybody's cut out to do it.
Well, what would you say some of the challenging things are for you within the business?
Well, people, now we've been fortunate. We've got, I think 43 or 44 employees, something like that. Our turnover's pretty low, but early on it wasn't. I kind of had to hone in on skills and, how to manage people. That was first day I showed up at work, my dad died. He died at 4:30 in the morning, and I was there for that, and then I went to work at 7 o'clock, and I had first guy I saw when I pulled in the parking lot, I told him my dad died, and he just backed out and quit. Yeah, he said, sorry about that, and then he just backed out and left.
Was that because he didn't want to work for you, or what was the reason?
I think it was just kind of a, maybe didn't know uncertainty, I guess, but, it was very strange. It wasn't a great morning, but, then I had a couple guys getting a fight in the parking lot, and I had to fire a couple of them. Because I think at the time, when I took over the business, we only had 12 people.
You were only 22 years old.
And I was 22 years old, yeah. But, we were doing around $1 million back then. Now we got 40-some people and about $5 million. So, but it's gotten easier. We've obviously got management in place and people that, deal with things I don't have to deal with, a whole lot. Usually,
Do-
if I'm calling somebody at work, it's usually not good.
Who was your first key hire? Someone that was like an all-star that's with you still today?
Well, we've got an office manager, Linda, that's been with the company 37 years, and I'm 34.
So you probably lean on her for a lot.
Well, she's kind of like the mom of the place, I guess. But yeah, she actually unfortunately, she just lost her husband last month. I've always heard that if something happened to him, she would retire. But she's came back to work Monday, so I don't know. She's turned 77 years old.
She's 77.
And she's been working for us since she was 40.
Wow.
So she's been at the company longer than I've been alive.
So she sounds like she's going to be one of those people who are going to be there for. She's just going to work until she dies.
Oh, I don't know. Every year she says that, I'm going to stay another year. I said, well, you stay as long as you want to.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We've got a lot of good people that work for us. Usually if they're not very good, they usually weed themselves out pretty quickly. But we've got a lot of good people. I wouldn't single anybody out on one key hire, because I don't think there is any keys in it. I think it takes us all working together to make it all run. I try to tell people, sometimes you get employees or people get in the mindset that they do so much or they do this or that and people's not replaceable, but everybody is. My dad was, I am. People just sit back on their laurels on what they're doing and think that, they're not replaceable, but everybody is.
100%. The world keeps turning. People step in other people's places all the time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, if something happens to me, either the company's going to go on or it'll be sold and somebody else will run it, or, the world goes on. It don't stop. So, but we've had a lot of good help over the years, and we've had some bad help, but I think we've got a pretty good crew of people.
Well, that's important. I think at the end of the day, finding everybody's like strengths and working off of those things is really important.
Well, and really my office staff, I've got 9 ladies that work for me, and they all do such a fantastic job, and I think they're a big portion of the success because I try to say we're a customer service business that does pest control. I guess is the words I'm looking for. 25% of this is the spraying and 75% of it's the relationship with the client. First person my people talk to or text with is my office staff, and if we don't get off on the right foot, they don't take care of people and they aren't polite, and they aren't nice, then we're not going to make much progress there. So, I think the initial phone call is the most important thing. And so I give a lot of credit to my office staff on how they handle and deal with clients. And, if something gets messed up or something, how they handle, rectifying situations.
Customer service is huge. How many 5 stars do you have on Google?
Almost 3,300.
3,300. That's amazing.
Yeah. I'd say we usually get 3 to 5 reviews a day.
How do you get them? Do you incentivize you guys?
We use applause. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not.
Your customers get a text message after the service?
Yeah. We've got a new thing we're working on that I'm working on right now. And again, you asked me about what I enjoy the business. I'm always looking at ways to make us more efficient and more productive and, serve our clients better. So I've got a new thing that I'm working on is AI. Of course, this AI is going to change a lot of how we do a lot of this stuff on the back end. So I'm already looking at some of that because it's going to be a matter of time before, we got to do that stuff. But this AI software will actually listen to our phone calls and give my service reps scores based on how they're talking and dealing with people.
Yeah.
So I think that's good.
I'm working with someone down in Florida that's using that, and it's really incredible. It gives them a score, and then it gives them what they said that could have been better, or then critiques them.
Yeah. So instead of me trying to sit down, which I don't really do like I should probably, and physically go through and listen to some phone calls and stuff, which nobody wants to do. This AI is going to pretty much do it for you, which I think is really neat and kind of give scores, like you said, on how they're handling situations and how they're being with the clients. Because at the end of the day, this is a customer service oriented business. I used to have people on my route, little old ladies and different things that have you check ready for you and want to sit and talk to you more than what you're there to spray, So, there's a lot of relationship that goes in this business too.
How incredible it is and how powerful it is and how I think, as we progress, people are going to be using it more.
I think it's going to be a good tool if it's used right. Now, I won't let, like one of the girls that works for me that does like our social media postings and blogs and things, I won't let them use AI for any of that. I think it looks cheap. I don't think it looks professional. I think anybody can go plug some sentences into a thing and it'll spit out an image, and I don't think it looks good. So I won't let them use. Now they have before, and I've said something about it, but I don't like to use AI to showcase things because I've seen plumbers and HVAC people and people that will post this big fleet of vans or these people doing these jobs, and none of it's real. it gives in my opinion,
False advertising.
It gives that, and if I was the client and I'm hiring a guy and all his social media stuff shows this big fleet of nice new trucks and all this stuff, and then the guy shows up in a cutoff at my door to fix my sink, it just gives bad impressions to customers. So I only like to do advertising with real people and real vehicles and things like that. I don't like using AI to be misleading.
I respect that. I think because a lot of people are using it, and the fact that you recognize that it does look cheesy and fake, and
well, it looks cheesy and fake, and there's a whole group of people too that you're going to alienate as customers because they just don't like people that use AI. They think it's destroying the world and the resources that it uses and stuff, and they literally just won't hire somebody because they're using AI. So I think it's best, it's good to get some KPIs and some metrics out of it and use it for some things like that, but using it to make things for us to advertise with, I don't think it's a good use for that.
I like that perspective.
Thank you so much for your time. You're a very impressive guy. Start jumping into this business at 22 years old, put in a tough situation, to be able to take it from $1 million to $5 million and continue to grow with awesome vision and goals. It's very impressive. So congratulations to you. Looking forward to seeing where your future goes and to follow your journey.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys having me.
Byron, you're the man, dude. Thank you so much for joining us on the Boardroom Buzz.
All right. Y'all take care.